Okay, here we go. New stuff. All right, so generator, magnetic field with a loop of wire that spins in there. Okay, creates alternating current. It's like a sine wave. Yes. Okay. Um, so we looked at how generator works. We talked about the different types of generate, like how do we generate electricity? We have windmills, we got dams, we got coal burning stuff, natural gas burning stuff, nuclear. Okay, organic. So, question. You plug something in. To an outlet. Tell your neighbor. Correct answer is energy. Because when you plug something into an outlet, it's just causing the electrons to vibrate back and forth at 60 times a second. That is it. You okay with that? The electrons aren't going anywhere. When you plug it in, just the wire, the electrons in the wires just vibrating. And that's what turns on light bulbs. Okay. Got a weird question. Okay, I'm just going to tell you the answer. Yes, you can. So check it out. Look at the pieces and parts that make up a motor versus a generator. Both have a magnet. Both have a magnetic field. Both have a loop of wire that is rotating. Interesting. Okay, so it has all the same components. Okay. So where you get the difference
fixed to the loop of copper wire. The commutator rotates freely, rubbing against the brushes. Now, when we pass current through the circuit, this creates a magnetic field around the wire, which interacts with the field of the permanent magnet to produce a rotation of the loop that looks like this. The electric motor and the electric generator are related like two sides of a coin. In general, the task of an electric motor is to convert electrical current into mechanical force. On the other hand, an electrical generator converts mechanical force into electrical current. So as you can see, we can simply rearrange our motor into a generator. In this case, we will provide the mechanical force with a windmill rotor attached to the loop and connect a bulb in place of the battery. We will leave the magnetic field as it is, and as the wind rotates the blade, an electrical current is produced.
Cool that. Okay. So what I have here is a crank generator. Okay, so as I turn this, lighting the light bulb. Okay, creating current, inducing current. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hook this generator up to another identical hand crank generator. Hopefully that works after this. That's not ideal. All right, dude. We'll find out. So I'm hooking this up to this. Same things. Come on, work. Sorry. Okay. Okay, same device. This one was acting as a generator. This one was acting as a motor. I was putting mechanical energy into this one, getting electrical energy out. This one took electrical energy in and got mechanical energy out. Okay? Actually, if you look at this inside here, what this is just remember those motors that I was passing around, the little electric motors? That's all that was in here. So as I spin the electric motor, it turns it into a generator. And I can use that current and make that motor spin. Cool with that? Okay. All right. So microphones and speakers have the same relationship of generators and motors. Okay? So a microphone acts like a generator, where as you speak into the microphone, there's a diaphragm that's able to vibrate because of your sound waves, and connected to that diaphragm, there's a coil of wire that moves with the diaphragm. That moving coil of wire is housed in a magnetic field. So as this goes back and forth, this conductor is experiencing a changing magnetic field. If a conductor is experiencing a changing magnetic field and it's hooked up to a circuit, current is created. And that current, because it's going back and forth, is alternating current. It's not going to be your 60 times a second pattern frequency. It's going to be whatever the frequency is of your voice wave, or of your sound waves that are causing this to vibrate. You okay with that? Okay? So, bless you. So it's creating an alternating current. It's like encoding your voice into electrical signals that are fluctuating just based like back and forth. Okay? And that signal is passed to an amplifier, which amplifies that, and then sends it to a speaker, which is a coil of wire connected to a diaphragm inside a magnetic field. Just like you have a coil of wire connected to a diaphragm inside a magnetic field. Okay? The difference is you get electrical signal in. So when you have current passing through a wire that's in a magnetic field, what happens to that wire? When you have current going through a wire that is in an external magnetic field, that wire experiences a force. And if the current's going one way, it forces the diaphragm out. When the current goes the other way, it forces the diaphragm back in. This is the part of the speaker that you see. Okay? So this vibration is what creates sound waves, which we'll talk about next chapter. Okay? It's the same pieces and parts. Coil of wire, diaphragm, magnet. Coil of wire, diaphragm, magnet. Okay? And this is acting like the motor. Same concept. Good with that?
Membrane. Stuck to the membrane, a copper coil.
He's going to say the same thing I said.
The coil is inserted into the magnet. When the current circulates through the copper coil, it creates an electromagnetic force that pushes on the coil. By changing the direction of the electric current in the coil, we change the direction of that force. So, the coil is pushed one way when the electric current circulates in one direction, and the opposite way when the current changes direction. Since the coil is attached to the diaphragm, where one goes, the other goes too. This interaction is the key to understanding how a speaker works. All of this happens in a fraction of a second, because the current changes direction very quickly, up to 26,000 back and forth times a second.
Okay. Good with that? All right, come on back here. What I have here are some speakers that have been donated to science. Okay. So here, the back of a speaker is a magnet. If you've ever messed with speakers, you know that there's a heavy side. This is the magnet. Okay. So pretend you had a horseshoe magnet. Okay. Say South Pole, North Pole. We're going to take this and we're going to spread it around to create like a castle and a moat. You okay with that? So like the castle's the South Pole, the moat's a gap, and then on the outside, on the other side of the moat is the North Pole. Okay? That's what we have here. This is the castle. There's a little gap in between here and outside, so that's the moat. And then out here's the North Pole. Okay? We're going to stick the red wire in the moat between the North and South Pole, so you have a magnetic field. When you hook this up, the wire is connected to these right here, and you pass current through it. Experiences a force. Okay? You can pass these around. You can't really hurt them any more than they've already been hurt. So pass those around. So I have a speaker that is functionable. So I'm going to hook this up. So right now I just have it connected to those leads. We good with that? So nothing crazy. Okay. And I turn this on. You guys see it move? Okay. There we see it go up. if I flip the direction, if I flip the leads, what do you think is going to happen? I'm going to turn it on. It's going to do what? It's going to be forced down. Okay. If I hook this up, these up to alternating current, so like the yellow tabs, hypothesize what you're going to see. Ready? This is the sound of 60 cycles per second, vibrating up and down. Okay? That's alternating current. Okay? You can feel this. This isn't shocking at all. Go ahead and come on up here and feel this. This is just a vibrating membrane. Okay? That's all a speaker is. It's just something that vibrates back and forth. Okay? To make this do something more interesting, because that's kind of lame. No one's going to buy a speaker that's all it does. We can hook it up to something a little more interesting. So this, like back in the 80s, put some speakers to it, carry it on your shoulder like that. You're like really cool. You have some cardboard and do some break dancing. It's like you were like you've arrived. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take that and I'm just gonna hook it up to these leads. Yeah, get some disco going. Okay? And all that's doing is that's just vibrating differently to produce different sound waves. Cool with that? Okay? Okay. This next demonstration usually works. Hopefully it still works. What I have are two speakers connected by two speakers connected by a whole lot of wire. One wire. It's kind of in a rat's nest. That's the break. So. Hang on to that. Hold that to your ear. Rocco, speak into it.
Hello.
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Okay, Franny, speak into it. Rocco, hold it. Or listen to it. Can you hear it? Okay. Let's pass it around. Hello, testing. Like, do it like both ways.
No,
Hello.
my hearing's not that good.
No, you speak into it. She needs to be.
Hello.
Yeah.
Talk Fridays.
Hello.
One more time.
Hello.
Can you hear it? Hello?
Yeah. Hello.
If you can't hear it, that usually means the wire got detached.
Hello.
Can you hear it? Nothing? Hello? Can you hear anything?
Hello? Hello? Hello?
It's not loud. It is not loud.
Hello.
Yeah. It was on the first one.
Dude.
What?
Hello, hello, hello. Yeah, all right, we're live, we're live.
Hello?
Nothing?
Hello?
No? It's not much. Like you'll definitely hear the person's voice outside more than you'll hear it inside, but there's a little voice.
Hello.
Okay, speak into it. Nothing? Yeah?
Hello.
Hello?
Will you take that?
Okay.
Does it sound like?
All right. Here's the idea. Both are speakers, yes? We can use them as microphones as well, depending on what you put in. This is like the hand crank generator. I'm lighting a light bulb, but I can also make the other generator spin. Okay? I can use the speaker as a microphone or a speaker. It's the same stuff, just depending on what I'm putting in determines what I get out. Good with that? All right. A popular question is like, hey, how do I make my speakers louder? Right? What could you do? The easy answer is, okay, we'll get there. Could do what? Make it, turn up the volume. So physics-wise, turning up the volume is doing what? Good. Increasing the current. I love it. That's great. However, if you turn up the current too loud, what happens to your speakers? They bust. They rip. Okay? When you blow a speaker, that's actually ripping this diaphragm. The is this part ripped? Okay? So yes, you could like increase by like putting like more magnets on the back, but you're gonna rip your speaker, your diaphragm. So if you want louder, just go buy bigger speakers that can handle it. Good with that? Okay. All right. Have a seat. Thank you. All right, next question. I'm looking for the concept. Similar concept. Tell your neighbor.
Yeah.
What do you say? Correct answer is microphone. We are taking mechanical energy from your voice and convert it into electrical energy, just like a generator. You all right with that? Same concept. Yes, you can make your microphone into a speaker, but what I'm going for here is performs like a generator. Good? Okay. Changing gears. Adam, come help me. Once you spin this wheel. Okay. And over here so people can see the light bulb. All right. Just turn it steady. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to unscrew the light bulb, and you tell me what you experienced. I'm not going to get shocked.
It gets easier.
Yeah, keep going. It gets easier when it's unscrewed, and then when I screw it back in, it gets harder. You can hear it. Good at that? Good, good. All right, so what's going on? Why is it harder when the light bulb is on and current is going through it? When current is going on, you have current going through this wire loop in a magnetic field. What happens when there's current flowing through a wire in a magnetic field?
There's no force.
There's a force acting on the wire. Yes? Okay? That force happens to be always acting in the opposite direction of the way you're trying to move the wire. So as you're trying to spin it, it's like, no. And you undo it, and it's like, oh, no more force. Okay? So it acts like what I consider magnetic friction. Okay? Don't quote me on that one. Like, don't take that to the university. Professor, it's magnetic friction. Like, you're gonna get laughed at. But it acts like magnetic friction, because it always acts in the opposite direction of motion. Okay? The middle school answer is you can't get something for nothing. If you're gonna get energy out, you've got to put energy in. You okay with that? Okay. Give this question a shot. Correct answer is. Correct answer is C. Why? Because you have more conductor or wire experiencing that changing magnetic field. Like, what? Really? All you need to do is like add in more loops of wire and you get like more energy out. Like, that's, dude, we can like light the city. You get enough loops of wire, and he's like, boom. Follow-up question. Tell your neighbor. Correct answer is. Can you get something for nothing? Okay? It's gonna be harder. You get more energy out, you gotta put more energy in. Good with that? Like, we can't light this city. It's just, you could, you just, it takes a lot more force, okay? So that's kind of what I just talked about in words. All right, so got some flashlights that are battery, it's hard to say. Doesn't have a battery. Okay, one. And then the second one, see if you can figure out how they work. They're different. They're see-through. They're transparent. Okay. As that's going around, we've got another demonstration. Okay, I've got 2 cylinders. Blue and a green one. One's magnetic, the other is not. The green one's magnetic. Okay? I have an aluminum pipe. Anything down there? Let's see. Anything? Okay, aluminum pipe. Is aluminum magnetic? No. Green magnet does not touch, does not stick to the aluminum. Okay? I'm going to drop this blue cylinder down. Drop the blue cylinder down. Drop it like a rock. The magnet, not magnetic, not attracted at all to the pipe. That was weird. Okay. So I'm gonna let you experience. This is like super cool demonstration. I'm gonna let you do this. Let's see if we can do this. There you are. Magnet, not, and this is copper. That was so cool. That was a good shot. Hope you all appreciated that one. All right. So what you're gonna do? Number 1 rule: don't drop the magnet. Here's how you're not gonna drop the magnet. Before you get mesmerized, let go of the magnet and put your hand right under there before you're like, whoa, that's so cool. Okay? That's your first impulse. And then you can like watch the magnet. You can do it a couple times if you want. Don't drop the magnet. Okay? That's tape because it's been dropped. Don't drop the magnet again. It's like you're entering the matrix.
Oh, we did.
Okay. So, why that is working, as the magnet goes through the conductive pipe, it's not attracting, but it's actually causing a current to be induced in the pipe. And that current that's induced creates its own magnetic field that's opposed to the magnetic field of the dropping magnet, and so it acts like magnetic friction. Okay? And we use this for like, you can use this magnetic friction as brakes. An electric car, you can use this to like charge your battery. Okay? Have you guys heard of that feature? Like use brakes to charge your battery on an electric car. It's kind of what we're going at. Okay? All right. Here's how, this is kind of changing gears again. We're looking at how data is stored with magnetically.
An electric motor spins the hard drive
This hard drive.
at exactly 7,200 revolutions per minute. The circuit board keeps the speed constant. And here's the crucial part. The actuator arms that hold the read-write heads. The ends of the arms are split. And right in the middle ride the disc platters. But the heads never actually touch the discs. The space between the head and the surface of the disc is 5,000 times thinner than a human hair. The heads float on a cushion of air created by the spinning discs. An absolutely essential cushion that prevents the head from crashing on the disc. And what a crash it would be. Talking about a crash is not only a metaphor. At these tiny scales, the weight of the heads really compares to the weight of a 747 airplane. A 747 airplane is packed with 100,000 passengers, flying at 60 miles per hour, 1/100th of an inch from the ground. Ouch. There's no friction to slow things down, so the arms can move the heads to write or access data up to 60 times per second. The engine that drives the arms is invisible because it's an electromagnetic system driven by two forces of nature, electricity and magnetism, which makes the arms move back and forth across the disc at lightning speed. That's it for the components. Now here comes the data. The data is stored inside tiny concentric tracks on the disc's surface. During manufacture, up to 200,000 of these tracks are created on the disc. Each track is divided into sections. A map of the tracks and sectors in the printed circuit board tells the heads exactly where to read or write information. The surface of the disc is smooth and shiny, but look closer. It's way more complicated. A magnetic film on the surface memorizes all the information. Oh my God. The heads magnetize microscopic sections of the film and store the data in a sequence of ones or zeros. Each 1 or 0 is called a bit. The value of each bit is determined by the orientation of its magnetic field, plus or minus. And it doesn't take long for the bits to add up.
Okay, so it's not plus and minus, it's north and south.
It can take up 29 million bits spread across 12 different sectors of the disk. This sounds incredibly massive, but in reality, a stupefying quantity of bits can fit in an extremely small space. Each square centimeter of the disk's surface holds 31 billion bits. That's space saving. A hard disk stores and recovers a phenomenal amount of information at speeds that defy comprehension. Using the power of magnetism, the shiny surface of a hard disk can store the contents of several sets of encyclopedias, or hundreds of thousands of images. Easy. A hard disk really is an amazing shrinking machine.
This is like 10 years old.
Little bytes with a single keystroke. This masterpiece of engineering
way
has
smaller
really
than this
stretched the
now.
boundaries of physics, bit by bit.
But it's the same idea. Okay, this next video does a much better job of explaining what the read head, write head does. So this is the floating thing that's spinning.
Magnetic memory, or magnetic data storage, is a key component in computer operation. This depends on the ability of magnets to magnetize other materials, and the ability of those materials to retain their magnetization until forced to change again by exposure to another magnetic field. Furthermore, an object can be magnetized to the north or south pole at either end. You may already know that data is stored in computers in a series of ones and zeros, a machine language more commonly known as binary code. But how can we represent a 1 and a 0 magnetically? Let's take a look.
A bit is the smallest unit of data storage. It can be visualized as a minuscule block that can be magnetized into a permanent magnet. Every red, blue, or gray block in this picture is a bit.
So this is the read head, right
The red
head.
blocks have north poles facing up, and the blue blocks have north poles facing down. These are what the computer recognizes as ones and zeros. Gray blocks are the empty bits that have not yet been magnetized. The right head is basically an electromagnet with a core appropriately shaped like this to direct the magnetic field into a bit and magnetize it as it passes by. It can magnetize a bit as a north facing up or a north facing down, simply by changing the direction of the current in the coil. As you may remember from the earlier sections, reversing the direction of current in an electromagnet results in reversing the direction of the magnetic field. Once written, the bits can be read by the read head, which senses the direction of the magnetic field as it goes over a written bit. A hard drive as a whole looks like this. Both the read head and write head are at the tip of the actuator arm. The motor of the disk and the motor of the actuator arm work collaboratively to align a desired bit with the read head or the write head at any given time to read it or write it.
A few years ago, an iPod of this size had the capacity.
A little bit dated there. But does that make sense? Like, so all our data is stored in binary, which right now is all magnetic. Like, that's how you store that. How you write it digitally is flipping north and south. And that's produced by electromagnetism doing that. So like your credit card, when that magnetic strip in the back, you have to swipe it. I mean, nowadays you stick the chip in. But when you had to swipe it, you couldn't just go slow because you had to get that. You have to have the read head experiencing a changing magnetic field. You can just stick it in there. Now it works on a circuit, not magnetically. That's what the little chip is. Does that make, you good with that? Okay. You got a worksheet due tomorrow.